Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now today's video is going to be about Islamic banking, Sukuks, S-U-K-U-K, and sleight of hand, abracadabra, now you see it, now you don't. Now a bit of a disclaimer before I carry on. I am not a Muslim and I do not profess to speak on behalf of the religion. I know very little, if even that, about it, but this video really is nothing to do with religion. It's more to do with a strand of financing. So back to the video. Islamic banking, Sukuks, and sleight of hand. Now it is estimated that a good 15 to 25% of the overall global wealth is held within that Islamic spectrum. Now that 25% seems a bit high to me, but that's just a received wisdom as a general rule of perception. So 15% to 25% held within that Islamic spectrum, and the bulk of that money, if not all of it, are held in vaults gathering dust. So there's monies gathered, sat there gathering dust, so it doesn't really serve any purpose of use. And there's a reason that underpins that. There's several reasons that underpins that. Now, if you're thinking Islamic money, you're thinking essentially, but not exclusively, Arab money. Now, and if you're thinking, excuse me, and if you're thinking Arab money, you're again thinking essentially, but not exclusively, oil money. Now, oil has been on an upward curve since it was discovered. So, oil as a source of wealth has been on an upward curve since it was discovered, and it grows and grows and it grows exponentially. So, the custodians of this Arab oil money are not so much vested in how to grow the money, but how to contain the speed within which it is coming in. So it's just essentially monies pouring in relentlessly and continuously. So that's one of the incentives not to grow it, but of course as human beings you always want to grow your wealth, no matter how wealthy. Even if you're as wealthy as Mansa Musa, who is the richest man that has ever lived, Mansa Musa, I shall probably do a separate video on that at some point. Even if you're as wealthy as Mansa Musa, you will still look to grow your wealth. So, but that's really one of the reasons why the money sits in a vault and is unused, because really there's no pressing need to grow it. But one of the key reasons, though, if not the key reason, that this money sits in a vault unused is for reasons of religion. Now, the Muslim religion, the Islamic religion, prescribes, and proscribes certain rules, and which are very strict rules around money and financing. For instance, you are not allowed to invest in alcohol or things of that nature, gambling, etc. You are not allowed to invest for interest. So because the concept of interest is something that is a very sticky point within the Islamic religion, I think is completely barred, if not contained in very tight rules. So there are very strict rules around how Islamic money can be invested or used. So just to give an example of that interest element before I carry on, let's say for instance you go to a conventional bank and you take out a mortgage. So you take out the mortgage, the bank loans you the money, and you repay the money plus interest over the course of the lifespan of that loan. So that's how the conventional bank would work. But within the Islamic financing, because they are not allowed to loan money for interest, what happens is the Islamic financing buys the house, and then you then pay rent plus a contribution towards the capital that was used to buy the house over the lifespan of the loan. So you might think it's in the wording, but that's essential. These are just broad strokes, by the way. That's just an overview. So it's not pared down into detail. So that's essentially how it works. So you have all the strict rules around the money, and you have no essential need to grow it. So the money then sits within the vault because the religion is reluctant to put it into conventional banking, because then it would run contrary to the strict doctrines or the strict rules laid down by their religion. So now you have an impasse. So but now you have 15 to 25% of global wealth locked away unused. Now this cannot carry on, and ways have to be found to free up this funding. And really, this is what is being looked at over the last 20 years or so. So over the last 20 years or so, you would have noticed there's a wave of Islamic banking, Islamic financing. A lot of people are talking about it. If David Cameron was promoting it the other day in this country, the Germans are already well established within it, and really they're looking for ways to access that funding, to bring it into the mainstream. So now, how do they do this? They have to create an Islamic compliance within global financing. And one of the tools that they use to do this is an instrument, this vehicle called Sukuks. Now, what are Sukuks? Sukuks are essentially, and this again is broad strokes, it's just an overview. Sukuks are essentially Islamic bonds. So they are very similar, not that dissimilar to the sort of bonds that banks and governments issue to raise funds. The only real difference really is that it has to be Islamic compliant, and so that's really the key difference. And that Islamic compliance, by the way, means it has to adhere to some of the rules that we've spoken about already, plus a whole raft of other rules which I am not aware of, but it has to be compliant with the tenets and the prescriptions of the religion. And the other thing is, it has to be underpinned by an asset. So Islamic financing looks to underpin financing with an asset. So what do I mean? Like using the example that I used before, you buy a house and that's the asset, and in terms of the bonds being issued, if you're using that Sukuk bond to raise finance to fund a project as a government or an institution, it has to be a capital project, and then it runs really along the same principles as discussed. They loan the money to you. No, they don't actually loan the money to you. They fund the project directly, just as they would buy the house directly for the person who wants a house. So they'll fund the project directly, and you in turn would pay back rental on that project plus a contribution towards the capital of that was loaned essentially to finance it over the lifespan of that loan. So that's essentially how it works. So now there's a real push to access these funds, and a lot of financing globally from Africa to Australia and every place in between are looking for ways for this compliance. What does this mean? Now, if you think that, let's use an example, global financing, let's say, is around about £100, and out of that £100, £60 goes towards capital projects. So capital projects like financing projects, buying mortgages, etc. Now, if you freed up that Islamic finance that is hidden in the ether somewhere by creating a Sharia compliance within financial structures, you would then have that 25% coming in to insulate. So that 25% comes in to insulate that 60% that goes towards capital projects. So you then have examples of this mortgage, etc., being Sharia compliant or following Sharia rules, which then frees up that strand of money to go into other forms of banking, like hedging money and leveraging interest and all that kind of stuff. So where is the sleight of hand? The sleight of hand really is in the attempts to create that sort of Sharia compliance within the banking structure. So then having then created that Sharia compliance and having monies being loaned conventionally now falling within that structure to insulate, the money that then frees up then allows the more adventurous sort of profit for profit's sake kind of banking to push through. So, and that profit for profit's sake kind of banking is really what underpins the overall banking structure. So really the Sharia compliance, the Islamic compliance Sukuks really sits as an island within a structure that they have to continually monitor to see if it sits within the tenets of their beliefs. So there you have it. Islamic financing, sleight of hand, and Sukuks. I could have gone into more depth, but I didn't want this to drag on because this could well have turned into an hour's video. But if you have any questions, drop it in the comment section. I'm happy to engage. Please, as I said before I kicked off, this is nothing to do with religion. So I don't want any Humpty Dumpty comment or don't go over Vuvuzela on me or whatever. I don't want any tantrums. So if I'm short on the details, so I got something wrong, which I don't think I have, leave that in the comment section and we can debate it like adults. So with that, like, share and subscribe, and I shall see you on the next one. Peace.